Do you have to move that far?
Yes.
So St. George isn't good enough?
Gross. I would never move to St. George.
I'm disgusted by this idea that she's moving and she's going to take Truly and move to Utah. Truly's my child. I don't want to push her into something crazy. Men don't win in the divorce world. I've done my research.
Would we be breaking up if you didn't need to go to Utah?
I don't know, but I don't think that we would.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. And I have some news for you because today is the day that Kody Brown and Christine Woolley are set to square off in court. And there was a public WebEx hearing for Kody and for Christine. In fact, it was an open court for all the 100A hearings for the day. Naturally, because it was an open court and it was for the public, I took an opportunity to listen in. And my goodness, something happened. So the afternoon session started at 2, and there were probably 15 cases before Kody and Christine's case was heard. And for the most part, it was literally just status conferences. So the Commissioner Snow, would meet with the attorneys for both sides, whether it was a divorce or custody dispute, and no details about the cases were really disclosed. So they didn't disclose if it was custody, you just heard custody. If they had things they needed to work out, the attorneys might have said, "Oh, we have financials. There's a business transaction that needs to get taken care of." One case, for instance, they said, "We're in the process of selling a business and we need to find a buyer. And if we do, it'll be a stipulation to the divorce." Like very high level. In the entire scope of that hour and a half that I was listening, I didn't hear anything very serious. There was a couple where there was issues. I mean, one case was wide open and it included a couple getting divorced that had an open CPS investigation. And I was like, okay, so if it's fair game and open to the public, I would assume I would have assumed if that type of case would have been open, that Kody and Christine's case would have been open. And as soon as Christine and Kody's attorneys showed up, suddenly the courtroom locked and closed. It was done. Everyone was kicked out. Now, any party that's a part of the case can seek to have the hearing locked, but they have to have a good reason. They have to have something that is so sensitive in nature that the disclosure to the public would be not beneficial and it would outweigh the public's interest to the court. So the issue at hand is so severe that we want to protect the individuals involved, and so therefore the public does have a right to view this court case. So I tried to figure out why this would be locked. If we're not disclosing financials, if they're not disclosing really sordid details about what's going on, what could possibly cause this to go locked? Could it simply be that Kody and Christine are part of a sister wives show and they somehow want to have this saved and have it for their storyline? Or is it something more sinister? So I did a Google search. Now, to be clear, these hearings that were going on today, all they were doing was checking in on a case and they were deciding what track the case was going to go on. There are 3 different tracks a civil case can go in the state of Utah under these new rules and procedures. So there's a first track, which is considered like there not be a dispute. It'll go very easy and everything will be pretty streamlined. Most of the cases that were heard today were not track 1. In fact, every single case except for like 2 were almost all track 3. And that means there was a significant custody dispute. And these are where they include cases with significant custodies and disputes, including custody disputes involving allegations of child abuse or domestic violence. For track 3 case at the case management conference, the court and parties will address whether a court evaluation is necessary, and if so, the form of the evaluation and appointment considerations, and whether the appointment of a parent, private guardian ad litem is necessary. And if so, the scope of the appointment and apportionment of an appointment and the costs. The court will prepare the issue by resulting orders, appointing a custody evaluator or guardian ad litem, and schedule the case for either a pretrial hearing or a custody evaluation settlement conference. So most of the cases today, some of them were like, yes, we're going to do a guardian ad litem. And then they had the judge basically just gave them dates and said, okay, you need to have these documents to me by this date. You have to have mediation scheduled. You have your divorce class that you need to complete. You need to have your parenting class complete by 30 days. Discovery closes in February. And then I need 60 days after discovery closes for this. And that's really how the story went for most of the day. And I heard very few private details from any of the people, and it was mostly just procedural in nature. Some of the cases were already ongoing, so they started the day off basically with the cases that had been in the process for a while. Like some had already gone through mediation and they were just getting ready to finalize their divorce or the child custody. And then they were setting up, okay, I need you to prepare your statement of facts, this. And then once she finished, there was like 8 or 9 of those. She got to the new cases, which were either child custody or divorce. And for the most part, most of the cases were divorce, but there was probably 4 or 5 child custody cases. And in all of them, they were all open. I mean, there was even a case where there was a father that practically was crying, talking about missing his children. So it didn't really feel like that it would be that big of a deal if it would have been open. And particularly with the fact that Cody's attorney was there and Christine's attorney was there. And they didn't appear because the people that are appearing, whether it was Kody or Christine, they wouldn't have shown their faces. But their attorneys were there, and then everyone was kicked out. So I was like, well, this is weird. I just sat through a family that said CPS is involved, a guy's crying about his kids. It's family court. It's definitely not easy. So I wanted to figure out what was happening. Could it have been as simple as Kody wanted to close it because it's a private matter and they're public figures? I mean, that's an option, although it's not necessarily a good enough reason. So I looked it up and it said a Rule 100A hearing in Utah is considered locked because it is a private hearing in a domestic relations case. It typically involves sensitive matters like child abuse or domestic violence, where only the parties involved, their attorneys, and the court personnel are allowed to be present to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. So they are considered locked because it's a private hearing. And it's because it involves the most sensitive matters like child abuse or domestic violence. It says, due to the sensitive nature of these cases, the court limits access to hearings to ensure the privacy of the individuals involved, especially when allegations of child abuse or domestic violence are present. The most common way and reason these get closed are when it's a track 3. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that in this case, it's going to be a track 3 case. A judge has the discretion, but they're generally open to the public because under the law, a Rule 100A custody hearing is generally not closed to the public. However, in specific situations involving allegations of child abuse or sensitive details about the child's welfare, a judge may decide to close the hearing to protect the child's privacy, usually upon a request from a party involved in the case. They're not automatically closed, and there must be a compelling reason to restrict access. In this case, Truly is 14. In this case, mom and dad are public figures. However, if it was simply custody and child support without any sensitive details being discussed, I don't think there would have been a reason to close the case or close the procedure at all. There's something that's being hidden, and I don't know what. I've always said that I feel like what we see of Kody is only scratching the surface and that there's other things happening behind the scenes that they're not disclosing. And it said a judge has the authority to close a hearing if they believe that doing so is necessary to protect the child's best interest, particularly in cases involving allegations of abuse or neglect. A party involved in the custody case can request they close the hearing, outlining the reasons why public access would be detrimental to the child. But the court must carefully weigh the need for privacy against the public's right to access court proceedings when deciding whether to close a hearing. I don't believe that Kody or Christine are getting special privileges. I don't believe that we're just public figures. And it's not in the best interest of our child for our issues to be public. That's not, they're not that famous. It's not that big of a case. There wasn't other media there. So I do think that this is going to involve something around child abuse or domestic violence. And honestly, what we've seen of Kody and what we've seen of how he treats the women and how controlling he is, I have no doubt that there's a lot that they're hiding. However, in the effort of transparency to the public, if they are misusing the court system and getting this closed because they're celebrities, because they don't want the public to know what's happened, and it's not because of truly being on a show or because mom and dad are on a show, but rather it's, well, the public doesn't need to know what we're fighting about because it's going to be on Sister Wives. Mind you, the Sister Wives cameras couldn't film. Filming was not allowed. You can't record it, you couldn't film it. Like all you could do was watch. And I've sat in on so many court proceedings over the years via WebEx. They're usually all the same. Very rarely have I ever been kicked out of a court for a private closed hearing. Now I get that Kody is arrogant. I get that Kody is a malignant narcissist, but there's something that just like never sat right with me with why this was filed because Kody and Christine had been split for 3 years, right? 3 years. And she left him in September of 2021, and she did not file for custody until 2024, 3 years later. And the timing of it seemed very strange. Like, why is she filing in September? Why now? Why would it matter? It always felt like Code that she just wanted to go away. And because he never had declared paternity of the kids, that it wouldn't be an issue where she would even have to fight him on things. Sure, he wouldn't pay for Truly. Sure, he wouldn't have to pay child support. But at the same time, then she also didn't have to deal with him when it came to making decisions if with travel or school because he had no legal say. And so a lot of women in polygamy don't even bother going to the custody cases because it's like, well, dad's not even on the like on their dad's not even on their birth certificate. And then if you like go to the court and add dad on, then you're asking for like with these polygamous narcissists, a headache, abuse in the court, a fight. So it kind of felt like she had said for years she wasn't going to do this. So it made me feel like something happened. Like something might have had to have happened either to one of the kids, to Truly, or to her that made her feel like she had to do this. And then when she filed it and they placed the injunction, which is placed by the court, I assumed that Kody wouldn't fight it back, right? I thought, oh, well, why would he care? And then when he filed a counterclaim, I was like, I wonder if she's accusing him of something and he's filing a counterclaim to try to like get ahead of that claim. You know what I mean? Like, this is just like a theory, but in sometimes malignant narcissists, mom wants to protect the child from abuse. Mom files a custody case and says, child is not safe in dad's care, wants to have an evaluation done, wants to have mental health evaluations done, wants to make sure that when child is with dad, child will be safe. And if not deemed safe, they will have to determine if dad is fit or not fit, right? Or mom, whoever. And oftentimes, if an allegation of abuse is made, the malignant narcissist will counterclaim with a host of false allegations against the mother or the father, whoever the malignant narcissist is. But in this case, it would be Kody filing against Christine. So if Christine's filing and saying, I'm being abused or I was abused and he has abused her, Kody would file and say, well, no, that's not true. She's alienating me. That's a fabricated story. I want custody because she's abusive. When he filed so quickly, when he had spent no time or interest or care or concern about Truly in years, I knew or felt like something was serious going on. And then when the court was closed very quickly today, it just gave me a really icky feeling in my stomach. And they've long said on the show, the kids have said outside of the show, that there are things that have happened in this family that if it became public, the show would end. There's very few times on TLC where an allegation has ended a show. I mean, you're talking about TLC that had Jeffrey Paschal still on their show when he was basically accused of almost killing his ex-girlfriend and facing prison. He was on the show until basically he went to prison and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. So abuse isn't usually the one. I can think of 2 shows that have been canceled on TLC, and it was because of SA, Josh Duggar, Toby Willis. So when these kids keep saying, if we told the secrets, the show would get canceled, it's like you've already spoken about the physical abuse, you've already spoken about the neglect. What else is there that would cancel this show? And in polygamy, one of the most rampant problems is SA. And I'm not applying that to Truly or to Kody. I'm just saying there's something happening in this family that they're all covering up. And it's like kind of like what Jim Bob tried to do. And they're covering it up because they want to stay on the show. But then the public, like us, that have a right to know what's going on, are denied access to cases when it could be a public issue. It just makes me further feel icky about what's going on here. So, as soon as the documents are filed, I'll have a better understanding of what the orders will be. I'll have a better understanding of what track it's going to be, where if they're going to have a guardian ad litem. If they have a guardian ad litem and Kody has an evaluation scheduled for him, I think I have a good, fair understanding of what's happening. But for now, they squared off in court and they cut off the public and they're hiding something. Cody's hiding something. I don't see that Christine is hiding anything. And if she is, it's probably for the best interest of Truly, but Cody's hiding something. And I want to know what that is. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.